Coming up next on Hands on Windows, we're going to take a look at a brand new start menu that's coming later this year.
This episode is brought to you by Black Hat USA. If you listen to this show, you go deep on the technical detail. Well, so does Black Hat. For nearly 3 decades, it's been where the security industry's most rigorous research gets presented and pressure tested. More than 100 hands-on trainings taught by practitioners who actually deployed in live environments, not lecturers reading from slides. And hundreds of peer-reviewed briefings that go well past the overview into the real work across the 4 areas defining security right now: AI and autonomous threats, cyber conflict, systemic resilience, and identity. This year, Black Hat's Briefings Pass includes all keynotes and main stage access, plus business hall entry. You also get breakfast, lunch, Arsenal live tool demos, on-demand session access, and admission to the Midnight in the War Room screening. Black Hat takes place from August 1st to the 6th in Las Vegas. If you want the depth this show gets into in person with the people doing the work, this is the room, and we'll be there too. Prices rise on July 17th, so book before then. Use the code TWiT for $200 off your Briefings Pass at blackhat.com/US-26. That's BLACKHAT.com/US-26.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Hands on Windows. I'm Paul Thurrott. We've been taking several looks at all the new features coming this year to Windows 11. There's some confusion about when things are going to arrive and so forth. But to me, the big ones that I think will impact most people are the new Start menu, which we haven't looked at yet, the new Taskbar, which we did look at. There's a new widgets experience we'll be looking at soon. Windows Update, we did look at that one, and a bunch of other things. But those are the big ones. So I wanted to move forward to the Start menu because that is one that we have not seen yet. However, I missed something last time. So the episode we did recently about the Taskbar, I forgot to show you one thing. So let me just jump into that because, I feel like the Taskbar and Start are pretty closely aligned, right? Primary, secondary way to launch apps, etc. So I have the Taskbar here. It's in this new small icon mode, which I love. I can go into Taskbar settings, and we did this last time, but you can, or you will soon be able to, because this is not unstable yet, but you'll soon be able to move the Taskbar from the bottom of the screen to the right, like I have it here, to the left or to the top, right? So that's kind of fun. And I think this is how I showed it. It was basically this view here. But the thing is, if you change some of these options, you can actually make this look more like it used to back in the Windows 10 and older days when you could move the taskbar around, right? So if I go into Combine Never, and then I have to do it on other taskbars because I have multiple taskbars here. And it is not doing it. It's doing it on the on the other screen. So that's Microsoft for you. Great, good stuff, Microsoft. All right. Well, what it does is it resizes it so it looks like the width of a button, which is the way it used to be, right? It is not doing that. Oh, there it goes. Yeah, it took a little while there. Okay, so it finally did it. I don't know why that took so long, but anyway, you can see it like this here. So widgets are at the top, which is a little strange. You'd almost think maybe Start should be up there and widgets should be down here at the bottom, but maybe that's something that will change. So that's kind of neat if you like this kind of thing. I don't, frankly, but I know some people do, and it's going to be a big deal for some. Okay, so that's that one taskbar feature I don't think I looked at last time. And now we have the new Start menu. So like the taskbar, the Start menu is currently in the Insider program. As of this recording, very late June, we don't know exactly when it's going to appear out and stable. My belief is that it's probably going to be part of Windows 11 26H2, which is that second half of the year release. It's not a major release in the sense that it's the same code base as 24 and 25H2. So it's going to be an EKB, as we call it, an enablement package. So you'll just reboot real quick. Some switches will be flipped, and you'll have the new update. It's not a big churn, major update. But we'll see. Hopefully it will come even sooner. It's kind of hard to say. So when we bring up the new Start menu, and this is a small screen, maybe the scaling isn't the greatest, so everything's a little big looking. But just looking at this, and I'll put this in the default category view, it's not immediately obvious that anything has changed. As it turns out, actually, some things have changed. So we'll look at that right after this break.
Hey, Paul, this episode of Hands on Windows brought to you by ThreatLocker. Yeah, we love ThreatLocker. ThreatLocker's zero trust platform now delivers the industry's most comprehensive suite of zero trust solutions, protecting endpoints. They've always done that, but now they've got company networks and the cloud protected. This is huge. By extending zero trust enforcement to cloud services and company networks, ThreatLocker is ensuring that devices are validated through a secure broker before they can connect to your SaaS platforms like or SaaS drives like Salesforce or Microsoft 365, Asana. This covers Google Workspace, GitHub. I can go on. All of them. So even if a user is successfully phished, a bad guy sitting in Belarus and gets in, he cannot access those resources without physical possession of the user's trusted device. And of course, if you've wisely put biometrics, Windows Hello or whatever on there, they'd have to do that too. So it really locks things down. This is why we love ThreatLocker. It works in every industry. They have 24/7 US-based support. It works on Windows, but also Mac and Linux environments. And with ThreatLocker, you get comprehensive visibility and control. Ask Rob Thackeray. He's the end user technical architect at Heathrow Airport. Rob said this, quote, ThreatLocker was the most intuitive solution we tested, and the responsiveness of the organization, the willingness to engage with us, to set up a demo, to work with us on weekly audit reviews was very good. It's great to have an ongoing relationship with a company that's so responsive to our requests, end quote. And by the way, I can confirm that. I've had the demo. And it's great. You can ask questions. They'll show you what it does. You could challenge them. They're super smart. I love the people at ThreatLocker. I'm not alone. ThreatLocker is trusted by some of the biggest and the best global enterprises like JetBlue, the Indianapolis Colts, the Port of Vancouver. ThreatLocker consistently gets high honors and industry recognition too. G2 gave it their high performer and best support for enterprise summer 2025. PeerSpot ranked ThreatLocker #1 in application control. GetApp gave ThreatLocker their best functionality and features award in 2025, and I can go on. ThreatLocker confidently ensures users have access to a consistent, safe network connection. That means offices, remote users, internal servers, all the critical services you need can maintain smooth operations, but you don't need to open inbound ports. You do not need to deploy traditional VPN solutions. Your end users get that secure, reliable, internal system access they need without the complex infrastructure changes. And by the way, which often open, yourself to attack. Get unprecedented protection quickly, easily, and cost effectively, and block those attacks with ThreatLocker. Visit threatlocker.com/twit to get a free 30-day trial and learn more about how ThreatLocker can help mitigate unknown threats and ensure compliance. That's threatlocker.com/twit. We thank him so much for supporting Hands on Windows. Now back to Paul.
So to understand what changed, we actually have to go into settings, right? So personalization, start. Now, you could also do that from here, right? You can right-click the start menu. But and what you'll see here is a different set of options. We can now completely control whether pinned, recent, and all appear or not in the start menu, which is really cool. I do have recent enabled, but you might have noticed I don't have a recent group here for some reason. It is a beta, and I have been messing around with it, so I'm going to chalk it up to that kind of a thing. We also have the start menu size option, which we'll look at in 1 second. But what's interesting to me here is that if I actually just turn all these things off and bring up start, there's nothing here, right? Like it's actually empty, which is really interesting. We get the same options we had before, right? If you are using this slice for the mobile phone connectivity, you can kind of toggle that on and off. This search as before, which goes to Windows search. You get your profile image over here, which for some reason is not showing a picture, but this gives you those options for going to other users or signing out, and then the power button as before, right? You can add folders and all that kind of stuff. So, but you can turn these arbitrarily on and off. And I think the biggest thing that's changed, well, that's a big thing actually, right? Maybe more ability to customize it is, of course, a big deal. But when you look at the start menu, a lot of the two primary interfaces here to me are pinned and what used to be recommended, right? And up here we had an all button, and it would go to a secondary display. So it was still the start menu, but it would go to a different display. And then down in recommended, it would be the same thing. And so those secondary screens are actually gone. If you could see recommended here, it turns out there's a way to have a secondary screen for recommended. But this all group down here, which was added to start earlier this year. So this is not unique to this version of the start menu, but it provides these different views. We would have looked at this, but it's a way to see all of the apps installed on your computer from one place without having to go to a secondary view, which I really like. And what they've done up here is just provide a toggle to show more or less of the items that are pinned. So if it takes up too much space, you can kind of, toggle it so it takes up less space. So to me, this is not a major deal, but I think it's pretty cool. And I like that they're giving you these capabilities, right? So this was here before, but now it's a submenu off of this recent item. We can turn off recent completely, but we could go in here and say, well, I don't want to see recent or suggested files. I don't want to see suggestions, recommendations, ads, basically, which is typically the way I would do this. I can't show this to you anyway. It's not showing, but if I was to install an app, a recent section would appear. This is what used to be recommendations, right? And depending on how you configure it, you can see what you might see there. And then the all area, the all apps list essentially is configurable directly in the thing as before. So that's not new. The other big new thing in here, because most of the rest of this basically works the same way, I had turned off account-related notifications, which was a feature of the previous version of the start menu. Now you can see I've got a little ad in here to turn on OneDrive folder backup. You can actually hide that thing there, the image, which is not hiding, which is hilarious. Every time I change anything, it doesn't work. But the way this is supposed to work is this would just show like a blank picture. So I feel like this has been, that's what I had before. I'm sorry. Actually, that's why that was like that. But the menu's still there, right? So, and you can see a picture in there. It's just a way to make it a little more minimalistic, I guess. But the bigger thing in here to me is that sizing ability. So there's no ability to grab the side of this thing and drag it. You can't make it bigger or smaller that way. But you can choose between automatic small and large views. And the way that these will work will differ depending on the size of the screen, the scaling, the resolution, et cetera, et cetera. There's not much configuration. One of these two will always be the same, or in my experience so far, has always been the same as the default automatic view. So if I put this on small, that to me looks the same as it was. And if I put it on large, in this case, it just got wider, right? So this is a 16 by 9 display. It's relatively small. If this was a taller display, a bigger display, it would get bigger vertically as well as horizontally. But this is a way to show more on screen. You don't get that full screen Windows 8 type experience, but you do have this capability to expand the view. So that's pretty cool. So I think, when you think about, I'm going to put this back because that's a little too big on the screen, but, when you think about, these are small changes, but again, this is a very common user-facing UI. You see this thing every day. It interacts with, probably 1 billion people every day use this thing. So kind of a big deal. And combined with the new taskbar capabilities, and let me go back into there, I think it's, this is Microsoft touching a part of the UI that, they haven't done a lot of deep work on until this year. It's kind of interesting. And you can just combine things here, right? So if for some reason you wanted to have the taskbar on the top like this, of course, the start menu, this is now the new start menu, it animates out of that spot correctly, shows correctly, etc. This top mounted taskbar is going to act like the bottom one, in the sense that where things are on screen. If you wanted to go into taskbar settings, let me do this and orient it to the left, which is not the default. This is the kind of Windows 10 style. Again, you get the the correct orientation for things. This is when widgets does move over to the side. Start goes to the top left in this case, or just the leftmost part of the taskbar, and then again, the start menu just appears where it should appear, which is kind of what you want. So it's interesting. It's not, to me, this is not a big deal, but I do know that it is for so many people. And honestly, just the ability to make the start or the taskbar smaller to me is the greatest thing. I'd love to have that kind of smallness for a start menu, or just be able to get rid of the start menu even. But anyway, it's not bad. It's definitely an improvement. So like I said, we don't know exactly when this is coming, in the sense that today, if you wanted to, as I record this, if you wanted to try this, you have to join the Insider program. Depending on where we're at in time, you either jump into dev or experimental, 25H2 preferably, and you'll get it as as you update the computer. And we went through that list. Actually, I had to show it to you again, but this computer is in the Insider program. But if you go down to this Insider program thing and do the feature flag menu, which we talked about at some point in an earlier episode, these are the feature flags for things that will just be part of Windows in the near future. So this is how I got the alternate taskbar positions we were just talking about. And then somewhere in this list, there's a small taskbar one here as well. So the start menu, I don't think this is even part of it's not a feature flag. So I think if you just get into the Insider program, you just get the new start menu. So hopefully by the time you see this video or soon thereafter, we'll either know when this will be arriving, or you'll just have it. So it should be soon. Anyway, I hope this was interesting and useful. We'll have a new episode of Hands on Windows every Thursday. You can find out more about the podcast at twit.tv/HOW. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you especially to our Club Twit members. We love you. If you're not a Club Twit member, please consider joining. You can learn more about that program at twit.tv/clubtwit. Thanks. I'll see you next week.
If you enjoyed this, well, there's something else you might like. If you want the big picture on what's happening in tech, subscribe to This Week in Tech. Leo Laporte and the panel bring you the stories shaping the industry every Sunday.